News. Fabrizio, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you. Thank you as always.
Well, I'm excited because the transfer window is just about to get underway. The Premier League season has ended, even though Manchester United have one more cup final to play. So the first question I wanted to ask you is, obviously, you know, Erik ten Hag, there's a lot of noise around his position. I just wanted to have a quick update on Erik ten Hag's position. A little bit of talk that Manchester United are interested in Kieran McKenna. Also, you know, the Tuchel and the Potter and the Southgate links. What is the update on Erik ten Hag's managerial position as of now?
Yeah, first of all, for the replacement, I keep repeating the same on all the links with Southgate, with Potter. At the moment, I'm not aware of contacts with Manchester United. For Thomas Tuchel, I'm sure he would love to try a new experience in England. So Thomas Tuchel could be an opportunity because obviously he's a big coach, knows English football very well. And so Thomas Tuchel is waiting for a new opportunity and he's ready for a new opportunity. So I'm sure in case Man United call him, Thomas Tuchel would be more than happy, as we said here 2 weeks ago, to have this opportunity. And then also all the other links, at the moment, I'm not hearing anything concrete yet in terms of contacts. Let's see what Manchester United will want to do with Erik ten Hag. What I'm hearing is that the situation is still absolutely open between Ten Hag and Manchester United. So they've not decided anything in one sense or another. They're waiting, obviously, for the cup final. What I'm also hearing is that it's not just about the result. It's not just about the cup. They also want to see the performance. They also want to see how the squad is going to react, what is going to be the mentality. So many details. I don't think it's going to be just about the result. So this is why for Manchester United it's an important moment, but for the manager too, it's a really 50-50 situation, and Ten Hag's future remains absolutely open.
So would you say with Erik ten Hag, in terms of him being Manchester United manager next season, it's like a 50% chance, it's like completely could go either way?
Absolutely, yes. In this moment, yes, it's really, really open. Even internally, they are still thinking about what they want to do in the next days and obviously next week. So it's a really, really open situation for Erik ten Hag. He's still being involved in summer plans at Manchester United, in the initial summer plans, of course, they have at the club. This is something they already did since February, March. But now they are still discussing internally about what they want to do. So that's why the situation remains open from what I'm told.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm sure we'll get a lot more clarification when the cup final happens at the weekend, and then obviously I think conversations will start to happen, and we'll have to wait and see what happens there. On to the summer, because obviously Manchester United haven't really predominantly been quick movers in the transfer market over previous seasons. We have spoke on the show before about Manchester United hopefully taking on a new tact this season and being quicker or just being more efficient than they have been in the past. Michael Olise is someone with a release clause, you've said, of around 60 million. Is that something that Manchester United could happen quickly because Manchester United are interested in him? He has a release clause. Would he be open to coming to Manchester United? And how likely is that deal, do you think, to happen quite early on in the window?
It's possible, but the real problem there is the competition, because as you mentioned, there is a good release clause. So many clubs are interested in Olise, not just Manchester United. United are there. United have approved this possibility in terms of scouting even before Ineos came in at the club. So already since September, October, they started discussing internally. In November, in the meeting they had, Olise was one of the names they mentioned internally as one of the potential summer targets. So for sure, the player is 100% approved internally, and now also with the new people who came at the club from Ineos. So that's why they really want to go for Olise, but they've still not started advanced negotiations because the situation of the manager, for sure, and also because they're waiting to understand what's going to be their budget. So how to make the strategy for the summer transfer window. Olise is one of the names in the list, for sure, but it's not something advanced in terms of negotiations or contacts now. And the competition. There will be competition from many clubs because Olise is in the list of several clubs, including Chelsea. They wanted to sign him 1 year ago. He's appreciated at Newcastle, at Arsenal, so there is competition. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be also about the project. For the boy, the project is really important to understand where he can play in terms of position. It's also about the long-term idea. And the manager situation for Man United in this moment is important when you want to sit down with a player and present a project. So this is why I think it's going to take still some time. I don't think it's going to be super quick, but at the same time, there will be a lot of competition. So not an easy one, but Man United for sure will be there.
Not an easy one when we're not in Europe at the moment, Fabrizio. Hopefully FA Cup will change that. But definitely someone to be watching, and hopefully there isn't too much competition, but I think there will be because he is such a good player. And then in terms of the centre-back situation, I was reading a couple of stories earlier this morning I saw a report coming in from Spain that Manchester United are in pole position to sign Jared Branthwaite. Obviously, Everton, with the financial issues that they have, might be forced into selling quite a few players. And then I'd seen that Chelsea might be interested in Gleison Bremer, who we've spoken about a lot of times on the United stand. And of course, Todibo as well from Nice, another player that's not going to the Euro, so might be quite easy to start that deal quite early, like we were saying. I mean, the centre-back situation for Man United, Varane is leaving, that is confirmed. All three of these players we've talked about before. What is the update on that?
Yeah, I will keep all of them in the list, as we already mentioned here. I think it's still really, really open for the centre-back. Also in this one, Man United still have to decide who's going to be the top target, but Branthwaite remains one of the names in the list for sure. In that case, they're waiting to understand the price tag from Everton. Everton have still not communicated to the player, to the agent, how much they want to let him go in the summer transfer window. So Man United are waiting on that one. For Bremer is already clear, because as I said here, Bremer has a release clause, is around 55-60 million euros. So an interesting price for a player like Gleison Bremer, but it's not valid this summer. It's valid in summer 25. So in summer 25, you can go there and sign the player by triggering the clause. This summer, there is a private agreement between Bremer, his agents, and Juventus to let the player go for a similar fee, so something around 55-60 million euros, but you still need to involve Juventus in the conversation. So Man United are informed on everything about Bremer, and he's still one of the names they appreciate. So could be a possibility, also because when Juventus were showing months ago some interest in Man United players, I remember Sancho in November, and then Mason Greenwood is one of the players they like. In that moment, they had some discussion also involving Gleison Bremer. So Bremer is another name I would keep in the list. And then Todibo. Todibo, we know since last summer, is a player that Manchester United absolutely appreciate. He remains one of the names in the shortlist too. In this case, I'm waiting for Manchester United to make a decision. I'm not aware of fresh contacts for Lenny Giroud at Lille. It's not an easy deal, because despite having just 1 year left on his contract, Lille are still asking for crazy money. And Real Madrid have not left the conversations, from what I'm told. It's still complicated, but Real Madrid are still there. So I think there are several options. These names are for sure in the list. The one we mentioned, Branthwaite, Todibo, and Bremer. I would keep also Antonio Silva, who is doing very well at Benfica and is one of the players they appreciate, but could be too expensive due to the release clause at Benfica. But for sure, centre-back is a position they will cover.
I was just about to ask about Euro, but I expected that response. I think if Real Madrid are in the conversation, Man United aren't really in a position to push on that one. But it will be interesting to see what centre-back we do end up going for. And you'd like to think, hopefully, we're going to have more of a clearer understanding on this, considering the transfer window opens in, what is it, like about 3 weeks now. Yeah. So things need to hurry along, in my opinion. But next I wanted to speak about the striker situation at Manchester United. We heard throughout the week that Benjamin Sesko was high on the list of Manchester United for a striker, and then there were some reports coming out that Ivan Toney is preferred by the people above at Manchester United. What have you heard around the striker situation?
That they are still waiting to decide whether they want to go for an experienced one, and Toney could be one of the solutions, because obviously he knows the Premier League, he's an English guy, so could be also a good solution for Manchester United in terms of experience, as they already have a very talented and young striker like Rasmus Højlund, so that could be the perfect match for Manchester United. But at the same time, there is still an internal idea to go for a young striker like Benjamin Sesko. For Sesko, there is going to be great competition too, because it's exactly the same situation as Olise. Chelsea will be there for sure. Arsenal also appreciate Sesko, so there is a lot of interest in this boy. And Red Bull Leipzig, in the last 24-48 hours, offered him an important contract in terms of salary, with the opportunity to be the star of the team and also to change the release clause into his contract. So that could be also a point for Sesko to stay there 1 more year and leave in summer 25. So it's not that easy for Sesko, but Man United are still in the process to decide whether they want to go for an experienced player or a young player. I think they already have clear ideas in terms of the players they appreciate, and Toney is one of them, Sesko is one of them, so they are monitoring several strikers, but I think for sure they will bring in one, and they could also look at the market for some opportunity in the final days, maybe if they want to bring in one more.
In terms of Ivan Toney, if we did decide to move for him, what do you expect his price to be? Do you have any indication on that?
Good question, because Brentford don't want to indicate any price. They still keep repeating what they said in January, 100 million. So obviously, I don't think it's going to be like that. I think as soon as a club will arrive there and try to negotiate, my opinion is not the news. It's going to be something maybe around 60 or something like that. So let's see what Brentford will decide to do. It's never easy to negotiate with them. So they keep repeating that they still not decided the price. They will play their game, obviously. But Ivan Toney wants to leave. Ivan Toney wants to try a new experience in a top club. He's not desperate to leave Brentford. He's happy there. But in case a top club arrives, like Man United, for sure, he's still tempted by this possibility.
It will be interesting to see what happens. I think that would be a great signing, but we'll have to wait and see on that. I then wanted to ask you about the sale of Jadon Sancho and Mason Greenwood, because both of them are likely to depart, and they would need to depart really to bring in someone like Michael Olise. There was a report coming out that Manchester United now want around 55 million for Jadon Sancho, which I think, I'm not sure if that is the region of price that we'll be wanting for him. But in terms of potential clubs coming in for Sancho and Greenwood, what is the situation there?
So with Mason Greenwood, there is really a lot of interest. I mentioned Juventus in Italy, also other Italian clubs are interested in Greenwood, but really from several countries they are showing interest in Mason Greenwood. It's about the price, because Manchester United believe that the value of the player is a good value. He did very well at Getafe, including Getafe. They still hope to keep the player on loan for one more season, but they know that Man United priority is to sell the player in the summer transfer window. So I think there will be a really big movement around Greenwood in the upcoming weeks. I expect Man United to sell him. This is the priority of the club, and this is also a possibility appreciated by the player. So I think he's going to leave, and from Italy, from Spain, and including England, there is interest in Mason Greenwood. And for Jadon Sancho, waiting for Borussia Dortmund. Man United are waiting to have a conversation with Borussia Dortmund because they know that the priority of the player is Borussia Dortmund. Jadon Sancho is super happy there. Jadon Sancho would love to continue at Borussia Dortmund, but of course we have to see the financials. So let's see what Borussia Dortmund will decide to do in terms of budget after the Champions League final. Nothing will happen this week. This is my expectation between Borussia Dortmund and Man United. Also, the player wants to stay quiet, not to be involved in any transfer talk ahead of Champions League final. But then right after, they will have a conversation. Man United, Borussia Dortmund for Jadon Sancho, and Dortmund remain the big favorites. But let's see if they can agree with Manchester United in terms of price tag and all the other stuff.
So Greenwood and Sancho could be quick sales then at the start of the window, realistically, considering if obviously Dortmund and United can agree something, and obviously all the interest from Greenwood. I mean, you mentioned a little bit of interest from England from Greenwood. Could you still see Manchester United selling him to a club in England, or do you think it will be abroad?
I think the priority will be abroad for sure, but it also depends on how much these clubs are offering, you know. So it's also important to see what kind of proposals they will receive, and also what the player wants to do, because the player still has to be involved. And so Man United feel they are in a good position. If they find a good proposal, they're prepared to sell the player. Otherwise, they already have Getafe for 1 year on loan and then maybe selling next summer. But the priority is to sell the player as soon as possible, and so this summer.
I was just thinking then about midfielders for Manchester United, because we spoke on the show about Casemiro, a likelihood that he might leave Manchester United this summer. Obviously not 100%, but there is a likelihood there that he could leave. If Casemiro does depart, you'd think that Manchester United are going to go into the market for a midfielder. I mean, is there any indication on who we're looking at? I mean, there's been talks about Onana from Everton, who, again, you know, Everton financial difficulty. Rabiot potentially, depending on what his situation would be. And then obviously we know Manchester United are very big admirers of João Neves. I think he'd be a little bit out of our price range. But on the midfield situation, where are Manchester United at with that?
Yeah, João Neves is really super appreciated in Manchester United, but it's the same with other clubs too. For example, Arsenal have sent their scouts multiple times recently to follow him. So there is big interest in João Neves, but it's really expensive. So he's not going to be easy at all to sign João Neves in the summer. And then for Man United, yes, for Casemiro, the expectation is for him to go in the summer transfer window with interest from Saudi. Let's see what kind of proposals they will receive. But I expect in that case Manchester United to go for a midfielder, also because if Sofian Amrabat also leaves the club, in that case it's already 2 players leaving. We have to see what happens with Christian Eriksen. So I think for Man United, the midfielders market is something that they can open, maybe not at the beginning of the transfer window, but right after, to see if there is some good opportunity, some good name. It's still not clear who is the player they want to sign, because this is going to be a proper domino in the midfield. So it will take some time before they attack a situation, but for sure midfield could be an area to cover in case, obviously, all these players will leave.
And then last but not least, I wanted to ask you about the fullback situation. So obviously we've spoken about bringing a left back in. Wanted to ask if there was any more clarification there on who potentially is being looked at by Manchester United, and also an update on Frimpong and his release clause and whether Manchester United might attack that area as well. But again, obviously going to be difficult considering our position in the window with no European football at the moment.
No, it's more than European football. I think it's difficult for Frimpong because at the moment it's still something that they have not decided to do because they have Wan-Bissaka and obviously Dalot. So for Man United, it's still an internal conversation whether they want to go for a right back or not. That's why at the moment it's not something really advanced. They had contacts in the recent months to be informed of the release clause. They know everything about Frimpong. He's a player that, as we mentioned multiple times here, they already considered before the World Cup 2022. It was November 2022, and he was one of the names they had in their list. So Frimpong is appreciated, but at the moment, Man United have not decided yet what they want to do with the right back. They will bring in a left back for sure, as we say since March. They will go for a left back, but I still don't have the name. I will let you know as soon as I can. But they are working on left backs, yes, for sure.
Tell you what, Manchester United need to hurry up and decide. We've got so many different positions right now, and it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, after the final, I think after the finals, things will start to accelerate for sure.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot to cover. And then just quickly before you go, I would want you to ask you your personal opinion on where do you think Manchester United's priorities will be in the market, and also is there anyone that we've not mentioned that you feel like is likely to depart this summer from Manchester United?
Well, let's see. I think we mentioned almost all of them, but I think the real priority for Man United, the really, really important priority, is in the centre-back position. They know they can't miss on that position. They want to sign a player who is for present and future, and the big one for the new centre-back. Same for the left-back. They know that they need a player who can be consistent because it's unacceptable. I think what happened at Manchester United in that position this season is not for a club like Manchester United, so they need to fix that as soon as possible. And then I think they are quite relaxed on the other positions because obviously you have Højlund, so to find another striker, I don't think is going to be a problem. But the main focus is going to be in the defense. They can't get it wrong, and so I think they will really invest there.
Thank you very much, Fabrizio. Really appreciate your time, as always, and I'm excited to have you back on after the cup final. Hopefully, United are FA Cup winners. I know you think we're going to win.
I don't know. Let's see. But thank you.
Thanks we'll see what happens. And we're excited to have you back on going into a busy summer transfer window, hopefully, for Manchester United.
It will be. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Well, everyone, that was Fabrizio Romano talking all things Manchester United news and transfer news. Immediately get in the comments what your thoughts are on Manchester United and their current situation. I thought there was a few really interesting points from that. I think the first one is that, again, a lot of people were talking about Casemiro's performance at the weekend and how he had a good performance because he did have a good performance against Brighton, and some people say maybe he might stay. Fabrizio again then reiterated that he's very, very likely that Casemiro will leave Manchester United in the summer. He's expected to leave Manchester United, and what I would say on the back of that is, who are Manchester United going to go for in the midfield? Because it is crucially important that we replace Casemiro properly. You're not going to have Amrabat because we're not going to buy him. We're not going to have Casemiro. We're going to have no holding midfielder. Manchester United, it's massively important that we buy the correct profile and the right player to complement Manu in the midfield. And I think that's a big talking point this summer that no one's really talking about. If Casemiro leaves and Amrabat doesn't sign permanently, which he's not going to, we are desperate then for a starting holding midfielder at Manchester United. It's such a key position, and we have no indication yet of where Manchester United are going to go on that. I mean, there's been talks about João Neves. Manchester United highly appreciate him, as Romano said, but I think we're going to be priced out of that move because you know what Benfica are like. They're going to want over 100 million for João Neves, unless Saudi Arabia pay us some absolute crazy fee for Casemiro, which I don't see happening. I think we'll get like 30 million max for him. Man United are not going to be able to go and afford to spend 100 million on a João Neves. I mean, it worked out for Arsenal. They went and spent 100 million on Declan Rice and they've not looked back. He's been a brilliant signing. So sometimes you do have to pay the money to go and get the correct signing in. But it'll be interesting to see where Manchester United go on that. There's a few other midfielders that I've seen people mention that could be on the cheapest scale. I can't remember his name now, but the Sociedad centre defensive midfielder was one that I was looking at. It begins with a Z and it's completely slipped my mind, if someone can put in the chat. But Arsenal, I've seen are looking at him as well. And there's a couple of others that you guys have mentioned. But I think the holding midfielder area is going to be massively important to watch out on this summer transfer window. And Man United have a history of getting that position wrong. It's crucially important that we get it right. That is the one, Zubimendi from Sociedad. I think he's someone that we should massively look at, but I know Arsenal are really hot on that deal as well. He will be a bit cheaper. He knows how to control a midfield. He is the position that we're looking for. And I think he's around 25, if I'm not mistaken, as well, which is, for me, a perfect age to bring into Manchester United right now. Get in the comments what you think about that. It's good to know that we are massively focusing on the defence going into the summer. 2 centre-backs need to be signed. I think 2 centre-backs will be signed. A left-back definitely will be signed. What's interesting to me is every show that Romano does with us, he's so adamant that a left-back will be signed. It's one of the most important positions that we're going to sign this summer. Yet we don't have a clue who Manchester United are going to go for. Which to me means Man United don't have a clue on who they're going to go for unless they're keeping it very, very quiet. And apparently we only want to spend around 20 million on this player. I mean, that kind of narrows the window down a little bit. I know there's been talks about Gutierrez from Girona, which could be really interesting. There's been talks about Kirkes as well. There's been talks about a few names, but nothing really concrete at all in terms of left backs for Manchester United. So if you have any recommendations, get them in the chat below, because I honestly don't know who Manchester United are going to go for in that area. Fabrizio clearly doesn't know yet either, and he says as soon as he has a name, he will let us know. But I think that's going to be really interesting to see what road we go down in terms of the left back for Manchester United. Michael Olise, we were really confident on that. Romano today seemed like, you know what, with a bit of competition, Man United actually, you know, he won't be overly confident on us doing that deal. He says we'll absolutely be in the race. But, you know, if an Arsenal or a Chelsea or you know, a big club come in for Michael Olise, they've already got their manager situation sorted out. They might have European football. Olise might be tempted by a different option. There's a release clause. He will leave. That will happen. And if Manchester United are the only ones in the race, then that deal will probably happen quite quickly. But as we were speaking about on the morning show, if another club comes in with a better project, Olise might choose to go there and we can't do anything about it. And that's the situation we've put ourselves in. We have a reputation for signings not working, which can put players off if they're trying to progress their career. And also we're in a position right now where we have finished 8th in the league. We don't have any European football as of now. That could change with the FA Cup. Let's be real, it's quite unlikely, even though we're hoping and praying we're going to win that. So even though we're all buzzing about the potential of getting Olise in, and Ineos want him, Man United want him, if there's competition there, that might not happen, which could be unfortunate for Manchester United, but that's the situation we've put ourselves in after having a very poor season. I'm still hopeful on that deal, though. I am still hopeful on that deal. On the Erik ten Hag thing, by the way, hit a like on the video, please, for Fabrizio. It's going to be great to have him on the shows going into the transfer window. Love to get these nuggets of information because it's such a crucial summer for Manchester United. On the manager situation, very, very, very interesting that Romano says the situation remains absolutely open, 50-50. He says it generally could go either way, whether Manchester United keep Erik ten Hag as their manager next season. He says, you know, 50% chance it could be Erik ten Hag, 50% chance it couldn't be. Ineos haven't made up their mind. They don't know what's going to happen. He said it's not purely based on if United win the FA Cup, but a lot of it will be based on the performance, the mentality of the players. Jason Wilcox is obviously still evaluating the feeling of the squad, the feeling behind the scenes. And honestly, I don't know what's going to happen with this. One day I'm like, no, they're definitely going to keep Ten Hag. And the other day I'm like, do you know what? They might just be waiting till after the FA Cup final to say that they're not keeping him anymore because they don't want any distractions going into that final. It's this time next week, I think we'll have a lot more clarification on that. But it'll be massively, massively strange if Ineos, after the FA Cup, are like, Erik is going. But also, if he stays, that's kind of what's expected by a lot of people. I can't make up my mind what's going to happen. I really can't. It could be Louis van Gaal all over again. But also, you know, Ten Hag might lose, and then it might be the easy escape route to sack Ten Hag then without a lot of backlash. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. But that situation, as Romano said, is completely 50-50 right now, which is a lot more open than I thought it was. Get in the comments what you think will happen on that one. Got super chats in, couple super chats in. Rory C says, how many interested, many maybes, possibilities, and let's see have been dropped so far? Is there anything concrete? And I mean putting in an actual bid. Well, Rory, Romano can't make things up on the show. He's only going to be able to tell us the honest truth as what's happening. And he says he thinks after the final is when we'll get a lot more clarification. So yeah, at the moment, it is just possibilities. It is just maybe because Manchester United are looking at these players, but they don't even know who the manager's going to be next season yet, let alone going and putting a bid for a player in. So we've got areas that we know that we're targeting. We've got definite concrete targets that we are looking at. Movements will be made, I feel like, after the FA Cup final in towards basically just getting into conversations and nailing down who we actually are going to go for. Sanil Dewan says, does Greenwood have a chance to come back? No, he will leave Manchester United in the summer. Romano's already said this, and he thinks that the Greenwood and Sancho deals will happen very quickly at the start of the window. I was speaking about this on the morning show. It's crucial that we sell them, and it kind of lines up with what Romano was saying. Greenwood has got loads of interest, so I think that'll be an easy deal for Manchester United to do. They'll want to get him sold quite quickly, especially if we're looking towards getting Olise in. And Sancho wants to stay at Dortmund. Dortmund want to keep him. I think we're going to have to sacrifice the price a little bit on Jadon Sancho. I won't be surprised if we sell him to Dortmund for around 30, 35 million. Sancho will have to take a pay cut, but to be honest, to get things wrapped up very quickly at the start of the summer, I'd probably take it at the moment. I think we should try and get at least 40, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, if he wins the Champions League, the price goes up again and Dortmund have more money to play with, so that kind of does benefit us. But also it is embarrassing that we're letting go of a Champions League winner when we couldn't get a tune out of him at United. It's a difficult situation, but I think them two will go quite early on in the summer. Mitchell Monroe says, is it true Manchester United are interested in Watkins? You know, Man United could be interested in Watkins, but it won't happen. There's no point even talking about it. It won't happen. On the striker situation, though, it does seem like things are heating up more surrounding Ivan Toney, and it's looking a lot more difficult for Benjamin Sesko. So I would definitely keep an eye out on Ivan Toney going into this summer. He's going to push for a move. Brentford are going to have to sell him unless they want him to run down his deal, and Man United are looking for an experienced striker, and he is on the list. So I think that's something that could happen. And Romano said around 60 million, which does seem about right. I'd like to try and push for around 50, 55, but if it's 60, he is a striker at the end of the day. It'll be interesting to see how much money United do actually end up spending on a striker this summer, considering all the other positions we're going to have to go for. And Mitchell Monroe says, do you think Frimpong has a chance to come to United? I think there's always a chance, but I don't think that is a deal that we will do. If I had to say where I think we'll go right now in the transfer market, give some predictions. These are literally just my predictions off the bat. My predictions are, I think centre-backs will go for, I think we'll get Branthwaite, or we'll at least try and go for Branthwaite. If we can't do it money-wise, we'll see where we go. But I think Branthwaite is probably one of our top priorities. And I think on the second centre-back, it'll either be Todibo or Gleison Bremer. So they're the two centre-backs I think Manchester United will get in. Left-back, I have absolutely no idea. Couldn't tell you. Couldn't even put a name forward at the moment who I think it would be. In terms of midfielder, again, no indication whatsoever. I'd love to go for a João Neves, but we're not going to be able to afford it. I'm really interested to see who Manchester United start to target in terms of the midfield, and if you have any suggestions, get your comments in down below. Striker-wise, I think we'll go for Ivan Toney. I think that's where we'll end up. I really do. I think Sesko's going to be out of our reach because I think Arsenal are going to go for him, so are Chelsea. And Romano said he might even decide to stay at Leipzig for another year, and his release clause keeps going up and up. I think we'll go for Ivan Toney because I think it's an open goal. To be honest with you, I don't think there's that many other clubs that have put interest forward yet. You know, Spurs might go in for him. Also, Chelsea might go in for him. We'll have to wait and see. But I do think Ivan Toney's one to watch going into the summer. Olise, if we can get him, I think we'll go there. And then other positions, honestly, I don't know. The midfield is going to be massive. The midfield and the left back are ones that I'm really interested in because we generally have no idea. And they're two positions that you think Manchester United are going to sign this summer. With Casemiro looking likely to leave, and with Romano saying we're definitely going to sign a left back. So a lot to come in the transfer window. A lot more of these shows to come. Erik ten Hag's future is one to watch. 50-50. Get in the comments down below what you think about that. Thank you, Fabrizio, for his time, as always. And yeah, thank you everyone for getting all your chats in. Really do appreciate it. Make sure you hit a like on the video with more of these interviews coming before the summer transfer window. All I would say is get strapped in, get your seatbelts on, because this summer transfer window is going to be a whirlwind. I can already feel it, and I'm so excited to cover it here on the United Stand. We all are. Me and Mark have been speaking about it, and you know, other presenters as well, and all the team behind the scenes. We can't wait for this transfer window. So strap in, stay with us, and we'll see what Manchester United decide to do. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you on the next one.